Hey Steelers fans, let's dive straight into the latest developments with our team. Last night's game against the Texans might look like a lopsided score on paper, but anyone who watched it knows it was a tense battle for the majority of the match. For almost 3/4 of the game, it felt like a nail-biter, a real 7-6 contest, with both sides trading blows and refusing to give an inch. The final score doesn't tell the story of a team that struggled to find its rhythm on offense, while the defense battled valiantly, but ultimately couldn't carry the team alone. There's so much to unpack from this performance, and it starts with a recurring issue we've been seeing for months. Time and again, the Steelers have found themselves in situations where the solution to their most pressing problem is obvious. The answer lies in attacking the middle of the field, in trusting the most reliable and dynamic weapons available. Yet, week after week, game after game, that approach is avoided. Pat Fryer has proven to be that weapon, the one player who consistently beats defenders over the middle, who turns opportunities into game-changing plays. Last night, he was virtually ignored, targeted officially only 3 times. One attempt was a throwaway by Aaron Rodgers, another sailed well over his head, and the only successful connection came in the fourth quarter, a moment that reminded us of what this team could achieve if it played to its strengths. Watching the Texans' defense, full credit to them for their preparation, it was clear they knew where the Steelers' hesitation would show. They positioned their safeties aggressively, daring Pittsburgh to challenge the middle of the field. And yet, this isn't just a story about Houston's strategy. The Steelers themselves built the walls they couldn't break through. The coaching decisions, the play-calling patterns, the reluctance to fully trust Fryer over the middle, it all compounded into a predictable, frustrating pattern. This isn't a surprise anymore. It's a recurring theme that has haunted the team throughout the season. Over the past months, it has become painfully evident that the offense is constrained by decisions at the highest level. The head coach's approach, emphasizing caution and defensive prioritization, has limited the team's offensive potential. Players capable of changing the game are left underutilized, while others who have shown weaknesses are put in critical positions repeatedly. The trade moves, the roster choices, the constant shuffle of tight ends and receivers. It all feeds into a system that hesitates when decisiveness is needed most. Pat Fryer, by every metric and every observation on the field, is the most capable player in the area of the field that has been avoided. Yet, time after time, he's sidelined from opportunities where he could have made a difference. Conversations off the field with veterans reinforce this reality. Defensive players quietly express frustration over the offense's inefficiencies, while offensive veterans shake their heads at the underutilization of their best weapons. The sentiment is unanimous among those who see the game from the inside. Throwing to Fryer is the obvious choice, yet goes largely ignored. His demeanor after the game reflects the weight of this systemic frustration. Observing him quietly, you see a player who is professional, cooperative, and fully committed to the team, yet constrained by circumstances outside his control. He holds back his voice, his potential, waiting for a chance to demonstrate what he can do when trusted. The quarterback's performance also reflects the broader struggles of the team. At 42, Rodgers brings experience and leadership, but the physical demands and the pressure in these high-stakes moments highlight vulnerabilities. Missed throws, incompletions, and a tendency to take sacks rather than force the ball into space where a reliable target waits. These are not just individual failings, but indicators of a larger problem in the offensive system. The offensive line, the timing, the play calling, all contribute to a scenario where potential is repeatedly stifled. Meanwhile, the defense holds its ground admirably, limiting points and creating opportunities, yet they are left with little to capitalize on because the offense cannot execute efficiently. Looking deeper at player performances, some bright spots emerge, but they are overshadowed by inconsistent contributions across the board. Kenny Gainwell, Brandon Eccles, and Troy Falanu had moments of impact, yet the lack of sustained production leaves openings for criticism. Jaylen Warren ran hard when given the chance, but touches were limited, a reminder that talent alone cannot overcome the structural limitations imposed by the coaching approach. Inside linebackers Patrick Queen and P.T.O. Wilson struggled to contain runs up the middle, revealing gaps that opposing teams exploited. Cam Hayward, usually a stabilizing presence, remained quiet, while Jalen Ramsey's early season promise faded rapidly, leaving questions about utilization and strategy. Even the rotation of certain defensive players, such as Chucky Clark getting reps over Kyle Duggar, raises concerns about decision-making at the coaching level, though the results speak for themselves. As we analyze this, it's clear that last night's outcome was not the result of a single failure. It was a cumulative effect of personnel decisions, coaching choices, and missed opportunities. 7 playoff losses in a row underscore a pattern, a franchise-level challenge that goes beyond individual games. The season-long hesitancy to confront obvious solutions, the repeated sidelining of key offensive weapons, and the inability to adjust when the strategy falters. All these factors converge into a narrative that is difficult to ignore. Fans, analysts, and players alike are left with questions about what is holding this team back and how long it will take for changes to be made that align strategy with talent. The issue with Fryer is emblematic, but it is also symbolic of larger structural challenges. His repeated underutilization mirrors the hesitation and stubbornness that have plagued the team's leadership. The balance between defense and offense, the prioritization of caution over aggression, and the unwillingness to fully exploit the team's strengths create a tension that manifests in missed opportunities and disappointing results. The frustration among players is palpable, the disappointment among fans is intense, and the questions for management remain pressing. The narrative of the game, the season, and the playoff streak all point to the same conclusion. Talent alone is not enough when strategy and execution are misaligned. Even in post-game interviews, the explanations offered for these choices often fail to satisfy. Comments about third down conversions or situational adjustments do not address the core issue. When your most effective offensive weapon is ignored, the team handicaps itself. Aaron Rodgers' limited completions, the interceptions, and the sacks are all symptomatic of a larger problem, a systemic hesitancy that prevents the offense from fully leveraging its capabilities. Fryer's one successful catch in the fourth quarter serves as a reminder of what is possible when the team plays to its strengths, yet it is an exception rather than the norm. The consistency needed to overcome playoff challenges simply isn't present, leaving fans to wonder how much longer these patterns will persist. The frustration extends to player interactions as well. Veterans on both sides of the ball recognize the limitations imposed by strategy and coaching. Defensive players witness missed opportunities on offense. Offensive players see their most reliable weapons ignored, and the sense of collective responsibility is dampened by the systemic constraints. The conversations that occur off the field, quietly, often reflect more honesty than public statements. A simple acknowledgement from a teammate about the need to utilize Fryer over the middle speaks volumes, and it underscores the gap between what is possible and what is being executed. The coaching approach, particularly the emphasis on defense and cautious play calling, has created a culture where taking risks with the offense is secondary. The focus on avoiding mistakes over creating opportunities has defined the season and shaped the outcomes of critical games. Players capable of changing the trajectory of a match are limited by play designs, utilization patterns, and a lack of faith in their ability to execute in high-pressure moments. This has been a recurring theme throughout the season and is now painfully evident in the postseason context, where every decision is magnified and consequences are immediate. As we continue breaking down this game and this season, it's impossible to ignore the human element behind the plays. Watching Fryer step onto the field, you see a player who understands his role, his talent, and the difference he could make, yet is constantly limited by systemic decisions. There's a frustration there that can't be overstated, not just for him, but for the fans and even for teammates who recognize what's happening. Every time he lines up and defenders crowd the middle of the field, it's a visual reminder of missed opportunities. Every play that bypasses him feels like a choice to play small, to let fear dictate strategy, rather than trust the talent available. Aaron Rodgers, despite being 42, continues to show flashes of brilliance. But age and circumstance are factors no one can ignore. The weight of carrying this offense, especially when star receivers are underutilized, exposes him to pressures that younger quarterbacks handle differently. 4 sacks, 2 fumbles, 17 completions out of 33 attempts. These aren't numbers that reflect failure in isolation, but they are indicative of a team structure that doesn't maximize its weapons. When opportunities are missed, the blame can't fall entirely on one player, though Rodgers bears a significant portion simply because the offense flows through him. Looking at the running game, Jaylen Warren continues to show that he's one of the hardest-working backs in the league. Every time he gets the ball, he runs with effort and intelligence. Yet 12 carries for 43 yards tell the story of a plan that doesn't fully embrace his skill set. Kenny Gainwell had moments, but inconsistency limits the ability to control the clock and relieve pressure on the passing game. The running backs do their job within the confines of a system that doesn't allow the offense to develop rhythm, leaving the team vulnerable to both turnovers and stall drives. On defense, there's reason for both praise and concern. Patrick Queen and P.T.O. Wilson were exposed in the middle, which opponents exploited effectively. Cam Hayward, typically a force on the line, was quiet, and Jalen Ramsey's early season promise seemed to vanish overnight. Chucky Clark getting reps over Kyle Duggar raises questions about decision-making, though the results did little to validate that choice. Even as the defense forced turnovers and limited points, their efforts couldn't compensate for an offense that struggled to establish continuity. The pattern is clear. Individual excellence is not enough when the structure and strategy fail to support it. What's particularly striking is the mental and emotional toll these patterns take on players. Watching Fryer sit quietly after the game, head down between his hands, not interacting much with anyone except a few teammates, it's a visual representation of the frustration that comes with being repeatedly underutilized. He's professional, he's disciplined, yet even his patience has limits. There's a moment when he acknowledges the need to speak, but even then, it's restrained, measured, aware that saying too much could create conflict, yet desperate for his contributions to be recognized. That quiet, restrained frustration tells more about the state of the team than any post-game press statement ever could. It's also impossible to ignore the broader narrative. 7 playoff losses in a row, tying records and distinctions with past coaches, underline a systemic problem. When patterns repeat season after season, it's not just a coaching issue, not just a player issue, it's a cultural and structural problem within the organization. Decisions on personnel, draft choices, roster management, and in-game strategy all converge to shape outcomes. While individual players can rise above, the team cannot consistently succeed when the blueprint itself is flawed. Fans see the talent, they see the effort, and yet the results consistently fall short of expectation. Communication within the team is another dimension to consider. Defensive veterans quietly express frustration over missed opportunities on offense, while offensive veterans shake their heads at decisions that undermine their most effective weapons. The fact that these discussions happen privately rather than publicly reflects a level of professionalism, but it also indicates a disconnect between what players see and what is enacted on the field. The silent consensus among those inside the locker room is that the middle of the field, the one area where the Steelers have a clear advantage, remains a zone too often avoided due to coaching caution and systemic hesitation. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL is reportedly opening an investigation into the recent clash between the Houston Texans and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and whispers around the league suggest that the outcome of the game could even be nullified. While official statements remain cautious, insiders indicate that irregularities during the matchup have caught the attention of league officials, prompting a deeper review. Sources close to team management have expressed surprise, noting that both organizations appear confident on the surface, yet behind the scenes, tension is palpable. The exact nature of the potential violations is unclear, but speculation points toward possible officiating discrepancies or procedural mishaps that could have influenced critical moments of the game. In Houston, fans are divided between outrage and cautious optimism. Social media channels have been flooded with clips and commentary analyzing controversial plays, while some argue that the investigation could reshape not only the outcome of this contest, but also ripple across future scheduling and standings. For the Steelers, the atmosphere is reportedly tense as internal discussions focus on contingency planning and public messaging. League insiders suggest that if the NFL determines that significant errors occurred, a rare nullification could be on the table, an occurrence so unusual that it would dominate headlines for weeks. Speculation also surrounds how this development might impact player morale and upcoming matchups. Analysts wonder if the uncertainty could affect locker room dynamics or even contract negotiations as the stakes of the contested game loom larger than the final scoreline. Meanwhile, betting circles are abuzz with theories, with some claiming that the investigation alone could influence odds and public perception of both teams. As of now, the NFL has refrained from offering concrete details, fueling a swirl of conjecture that will likely persist until the league concludes its inquiry. Whatever the final determination, one thing is certain. The Texans-Steelers game has become more than just a contest on the field. It is now a potential flashpoint in league history, a reminder that even in a sport driven by statistics and performance, off-field scrutiny can change everything. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.